Hey everybody, welcome in to Vision 2020, the first in a series here from Sheppard Air Force Base. I'm Dan Hawkins from the Air Education and Training Command Public Affairs Office, and joining me on this inaugural edition of Vision 2020 is the commander of both Sheppard Air Force Base and the 82nd Training Wing, Colonel Kenyon K. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's good to be here with you.
So we're here and we're going to talk a lot today on this first edition of Vision 2020 about exactly what that is. But first, I really wanted to kind of give everyone a sense of what the 82nd Training Wing and Sheppard Air Force Base really is about and what it contributes to the Air Force.
Yeah, so the 82nd Training Wing, covering the globe with the many people who we have working on our detachments as well as here at Sheppard Air Force Base. We cover the maintenance and logistics career fields, so it's all of aircraft maintenance, but it's also many of our other logistics career fields as well, to include civil engineering career fields, AFSCs or Air Force Specialty Codes, our POL, explosive ordnance disposal, telecommunications. So we cover the gamut. 65,000 graduates out of the 82nd Training Wing, and that's not all integral to Sheppard Air Force Base proper, but with our detachments. We have over 65 geographically separated units where we have individuals that are doing advanced or follow-on training beyond the initial pipeline. And then we have over 900 courses that includes our initial skills for our enlisted members, but also advanced officer courses as well as advanced enlisted courses. So it's a broad scope of activity that takes place. Almost 44% of our Air Force's training, technical training, is done right here at Sheppard Air Force Base. It's the largest technical training. I know it seems like I'm proud, because I am. I'm proud of what the wing does. The wing has a lot of footprint across the A4 community.
To really lay the groundwork for the vision for what maintenance and logistics training is going to look like moving forward, we kind of need to know like what that overall 30,000 foot helicopter view is. What is the vision moving forward?
Well, what we like to do is always go back to the source documents. And when we look at our strategic documents, the National Defense Strategy, the Air Force Strategic Master Plan, they all talk to us about how maintenance training has to evolve and how what we're doing, the type of fight that we're in, is a little bit different. And so therefore we have to have a different type of force. In order to have a different type of force, we have to have a different type of airman. If we want to have a different type of airman, we're going to have to train differently. So it all roots back to our strategic documents, and it does not mince words. The Strategic Master Plan simply states right up front that we cannot take 18 to 24 months to go from a concept to actually the type of training that's taking place in the classroom. So we have to be more agile in what we're doing.
And you talk about the human piece of this, the human capital, the airmen. What does that really mean? Can you elaborate a little more on that?
Absolutely. So when we think about what we have done historically in the realm of training, for a long time we have, for very good reasons, we've trained people to technical competencies. I mean, that's not going to surprise anybody that we have trained people to technical competencies. So what we've done is we let them go very in-depth in certain specialties to make sure they understand the systems that are going on there. Well, in this new environment that we're in, when we want people to go into a joint domain network type of environment, we need airmen to not only have that depth of experience, but we need them to have breadth of experience. And what I mean by that is, it's not just enough for us to have the technical expertise, but we need to know about the systems and why they work and how they integrate with other systems, what they're doing to other systems. And that takes a different type of training mantra. The other piece of this is about establishing a resilient airman. Now, resiliency is something that is also tossed around quite a bit. And the way we like to talk about it is from a standpoint, if you live long enough, something is going to happen. Life is going to happen to you. And from a personal and a professional standpoint, we want airmen to be able to accept a certain type of hit, get help if they need it, and then continue to move forward. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. So as airmen go through their life's evolution and go through things in their lives, we want them to be able to adapt, accept the situation, and then move forward. And that's both on the personal side as well as the professional side.
And it really talks to General Webb's priorities here in AATC of advancing force development, enhancing our lethality and readiness, transforming the way we learn, and cultivating an environment of excellence. It really talks about force development in that holistic, learner-centric approach,
Yes.
and that's kind of the vision for the airmen you want to produce here at Shepherd.
Absolutely. When we talk about force development, advancing force development, on the one hand, it is about the airmen in training, and it is about those airmen that are coming through the initial pipeline and how we train people in follow-on assignments once they get to their bases. That is a very important aspect of it, and that's what we're talking about. But the other aspect that we haven't talked about just yet is the cadre of personnel that are going to be standing before these airmen, making sure that they are getting the instruction. They are a key ingredient to this type of transformational change that's taking place. We cannot do it without those folks that are on the podium every single day. They are absolutely integral and necessary to the transformation that we're talking about right now.
So in building this kind of transformation, I think you can't really have this conversation if we don't talk about innovation to some degree and experimentation.
Yes.
And when we talk about experimentation, that leads us down the road of AATC's Learning Next project. So it's not just flying training, but it's also happening here in the technical training arena. We have pilot training next, rotary wing next, RPA next on the flying training side. But can you talk to some of those Learning Next programs that are happening here as part of the 82nd Training Wing?
Absolutely. So, when the way we think about it is maintenance and logistics training transformation comes in waves. So there are several evolutions that will take place. And Maintenance Training Next is one of those key aspects of it. It's another phase of what is taking place. So right now, there's a Maintenance Training Next team led by Lieutenant Colonel Sean Good down in the Randolph area. And what they are doing is they're experimenting with a new way of training crew chiefs. So again, I talked about 70 Air Force specialty codes that we train on here at Shepherd Air Force Base. Crew chiefs are one subset of that, so it's a very limited scope within the aircraft maintenance career field. So they are experimenting there. In the spring time frame, they will take that limited objective, bring it here to Shepherd so that we can try it out in the true training environment here. We'll then determine what is good from it, and then we'll incorporate some of it. We'll provide them feedback so we can continue this evolution.
And I think it's good to really note the difference. Not every experiment is at the same scope and scale,
Right.
if you will. So you think about pilot training next, it's really geared to that undergraduate pilot training where a lot of those skill sets, no matter what airframe you fly later in your career, you still got to learn how to fly at a basic level.
That's right.
But maintenance and logistics, a little bit different arena.
Yeah, so for, when it goes through pilot training, and here at Shepherd Air Force Base, we're very fortunate in that we have both pilot training as well as technical training that takes place on the same base. The only base in AATC where that takes place. So we get to learn a little bit from the type of innovative ideas that are taking place over in the flying training wing. But for the training, the technical training, we have so many different Air Force specialty codes that are being trained. The same type of activity that's going to take place in a crew chief environment may be different, and it may be implemented differently in a telecom training environment. We can't take them one for one and try to make the same thing happen in one environment as the other. Now, there may be some aspects that we're able to learn from and to utilize across the different AFSCs or Air Force specialty codes, but it won't be a one-for-one swap across the board.
So outside of the Learning Next umbrella, there are other programs that are happening in the 82nd Training Wing, and one of them in particular is really exciting when it comes to Vision 2020, and that is the right time training.
Yes, so right time training is something that we're really proud of. In fact, it can and should have its own video to itself, and we'll likely do that at some point as well. But right time training is a type of innovation that does not take technology. It's not a technology-based type of innovation. It's a process change. And the way that we used to do it, we would graduate an airman out of pipeline training here at Shepherd Air Force Base, and it's specific to crew chiefs. And so we would graduate them from here, we would send them to their base, they would then go through the follow-on hands-on training at the base, and then they would go through about 45 days of admin type things, forgetting everything that we taught them before they end up on the flight line ready to work. Well, we flipped that model now. So after they complete their pipeline training here, they go to their base, they kind of in process, do all of that the admin things that are required, and then they come back to the field detachment in a follow-on training type of environment. They get all of the hands-on training that they need, and then we deliver them back while everything is fresh in their minds and they're ready to rock and roll. They're full up rounds and ready to be productive members of that particular maintenance unit. It's a phenomenal, innovative way of doing things, but only a process has changed, not anything technology based. We're really proud of Right Time Training.
And I think that's interesting because you also give those airmen, you talk about a resilience perspective, they get an opportunity to meet their people that they'll be working with, their fellow airmen in the squadron, but they're still kind of in that training environment. So it's kind of that really eases that indoctrination into, a big change for them, which is their first PCS.
Dan, you're exactly right. One of the places that I had a chance to witness and talk with some of the airmen was down in Eglin with the F-22 training. And when we talked to them, they were just elated about how that training is going, because they hear about it, they're able to see a little bit of what's going on in their maintenance unit, and then they come to the training environment and they can ask all those questions that maybe they were just afraid to ask because the pace is kind of fast within the maintenance unit. They can ask all those questions in the safety of a training environment, and then they go right back and they implement on the line.
Moving forward, what is that timeline to do this transformation? Because obviously that's not a couple months and we're done kind of project that we're talking about. This is going to take a little bit of time. What does that look like?
Well, first and foremost, I would say to that the future is bright. We're capturing this not in terms of weeks or months, but in terms of years. This is going to be a multi-year effort as we do this type of transformation. It includes lots of organizations. We're nested directly with 2nd Air Force and General Tullis's vision for how we are going to transform training. And of course, everything that General Webb has outlined with the AETC priorities as well. But then one of the other areas that we have to stay nested with is with the career field managers. So we're coordinating with the Headquarters Air Force so that we can make sure that all of the requirements that are laid out are in lockstep, because those requirements have to be funded in some way. So it is a multi-year effort to make sure we're all moving in the same direction at about the same pace.
And force development really talks to an airman's education, training, and experience throughout their careers from a holistic perspective. And so you guys are right on track with Vision 2020. I really appreciate you taking time out to join us today. And of course, just episode 1 of a series to talk about all the great things you guys are doing.
Yes, it's going to be great being able for us to be a part of this effort as we go to transform maintenance and logistics training. So thank you very much. All right.